Alright, so now it's going to be about keyframe management. But I'll start from the top again, so you can pick up where you were. Most of you probably have a project made already you can open. If not, you can start again here. This is what After Effects looks like when you open it. And we want to do a new composition. So you can right click here, new composition, you can composition, new composition. You know, there's always different ways of doing stuff, but here we're just going to do new composition, and we're going to look at it. It's 2997, 1920 by 1080 is fine, but if I had a 4K composition I wanted to do, I would put that to 4K. But if I had a 4K project editing wise, I'd want to make sure that it was a 4K and the frame rates match. I'm happy with that, and it's 5 seconds. Again, anything over 5 seconds is like killer for doing what we're doing. Certainly you'll bring a shot in, it's 12 seconds, 15-second shot, things like that, but here we go, hit OK, and now we have that blank canvas at this area over here, which is our project and effects area. There's effect controls and project, and of course our timeline-ish. I didn't name it, so I'm just going to name it now. Again, hit the return key and just call it, I'm going to call it keyframes. So just finishing up with that. There, keyframes. There's nothing in here. So now I could add under layer, new, a text layer, a solid layer, light and camera, null object, really right now text, solid, and of course a shape layer. So let's just make a shape layer. And I'm going to need a shape. So up here, I'm going to select a shape. So if I hold down my mouse button, you'll see that I can choose all sorts of different shapes here. So there's ellipse, polygon, star tool. And you say it's pretty limited. Yes, it is, but you can actually edit the shapes. So just quickly, I'll show you this, and of course you can rewind and watch it again. So let's just do this polygon tool. And when we add that in there, it comes out as a layer, and it's called Shape Layer 1. I'm going to hit enter, and I'll name that layer keyframe. Let's just make a keyframe out of a shape layer. So now I'm going to just go click in here into my composition window. There's my anchor point in the middle, so I'm just going to start from the middle here, anchor point, and then I'm just going to pull, click and pull, and I have a shape. And don't worry about all this kind of stuff. I've created a shape, all is good. And now what am I going to do with it? So I'm going to go up here. I'm going to choose my selection tool, V, if you're on a keyboard. Of course we're on a keyboard. Hit a V. And you'll see that you can resize in After Effects like Photoshop or anything. Unlike Photoshop though, it'll warp. You got to hold down the Shift key in order for it to keep its shape proper. If you don't hold down the Shift key, you can make it all like whoop, whoop. Again, anything you do here, you can animate. That's the fun thing about After Effects. And if I hover over it, you can see that I can rotate it here too. Now I could rotate the layer, but on here I can just rotate the shape. So different kinds of ways of dealing with stuff. You'll get used to it. And if I go down here where it says Polystar, if I open this up, you'll see there's a thing called Polystar Path. There's all sorts of things you can do in shape layers. So we're going to make this into an icon for our keyframe. So I'm going to click the down button on that, and I'll see type, and there's points position. You'll see that everything in After Effects for the most part has these little stopwatches. Stopwatches will start yourself a keyframe. So I'm not going to start a keyframe now, but I'm going to look at this points. There's 5 points on this. I'm going to just say let's go to 4 points. And now I have a keyframe icon. What are you saying? So what I'm saying is that if I rotate this way, and then I go down here and I hit keyframe by hitting the clock. I'm going to click the clock here. I've created a keyframe, and the keyframe is just like a little diamond. So there you go, I've got a little diamond keyframe up there. Since it's animatable though, I could actually go down further down the line here and change the amount of points I have, and it'll animate all the points. So for example, if I go into the 1 second mark and I say, oh, I want 100 points. So I've typed in 100. It's created a second keyframe for me, but it will never do a second keyframe if you don't have an original keyframe. And now if I hit play on this, you see it does a very quick little animation where it starts in that shape and ends up in that shape. Good fun, huh? I don't want that second keyframe because I want it to be this. So I'm going to go place this here, and let's just do a quick little design here. So I'm going to say, now I'm going to do layer, new, text. But the same effect here is in the text here. So I could actually click on this, and then just if I click in here, and I start typing, keyframe, then I have a text layer. Go back again, hit V or my pointer tool here, and I can move it all around. Now you'll also notice that the anchor point, and I talked about that last time, the anchor point is here on the K. So if anything it's going to do from that point on. If I change that anchor point, it'll animate from the center of that point. So I'm going to leave it there just for now, just for the sake of our exercise. So now I have these two elements, and now I'm going to want a background. So let's just create a layer, new, and I'll just create a solid. And I'll use this red over here. So I'm actually just going to take this and sample the red, hit OK. Of course, it's layer based, so the top layer is now covering up like a transparencies, like the under, and now I have this, and nothing's happening though. I'm hitting play, nothing happens because I haven't done any keyframes yet. So let's do a couple of keyframes just to get a little animation done. So let's start a scale keyframe on, and I'm just going to call this one text just to be clear. Down here, hit return, type text, and now with this keyframe layer I'm going to animate this. So I'm going to create keyframes. I'm going to open this up with this little icon, and then it gives me all of the, I'm going to close the contents here. There's my transform controls. Now here's the thing I didn't tell you in the last one. All of these can be gotten to very simple on your keyboard by S for scale. The scale keyframes come up. P will give you position. R will give you rotation. And T will give you opacity. I believe it must be that because of its transparency, but it's kind of stupid. Anyway, there you go. So I'm going to hit S for scale, or I can open this up and just go into my transform, look at my scale here, and I'm going to set a single keyframe. You have to set the first keyframe or it doesn't work. So I'm going to scale, but this time I'm going to start the scale but really high. So I want it to be like this, kind of like funky. It'll come in, so it'll be the whole screen, and then it'll zoom back into place. So there's that. Timing, you're going to change your timings because some things are going to feel really slow. I'm going to do 2 seconds, which will actually be very slow, and you'll see. And let's just go to for the scale for that. Now I could click and drag this again like I did before, but you can see it's kind of a pain. Or I can just type in a value, 100%. And now when I hit, actually it's not too bad. Yeah, that's okay. I'll deal with that. And then for a keyframe, I'm going to get it to scale with it. I'm going to hold it. Start a scale under transform again, scale, start a keyframe. Without a first keyframe, you can't get a second keyframe. And let's just do rotation and opacity. We'll do 3 in a row here. So you see there's 3 keyframes, but you say nothing's happening. Well, nothing's happening because we haven't changed the value of it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change at the beginning here the rotation to 90 degrees. I want the opacity to start at 0, and then it disappears because I've set that keyframe. But now, when it gets to here, I want my opacity, say 1 second in, I want my opacity to be at 100%. I will switch that to 100. And then by the time that locks into place, I'm going to want the keyframe to then be at 0 on the rotation. So from -90 to 0. And now you'll see that it does that. It's not great, but it is what it is. Okay, so now if you look at this, it's very linear in how it moves. It's very robotic. It goes from one point to the next in a linear fashion. So there's no easing in or easing out, as we call it here. If you're holding an actual camera in a pan, you would slowly start to pan and quick through the middle and then slow down at the end. So we can do that in the animation software as well. So what we want to do is change these keyframes to easy ease keyframes. What do you mean by that? Well, let's look at this one over here. So this is our keyframe icon that we've created, and there's our second keyframe. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on that keyframe with my mouse, or however you do that on your laptop, and then I'm going to hit easy ease, and what it's going to do is it's going to change that keyframe to look more like a little hourglass. And what that's going to do is it's going to slow down the animation towards the end. So it's quick through the beginning, slows down to the end. And there's way more control even than this, but I'm going to show you, but this is just an easy way of seeing it for now, and then later on we'll get into more advanced. And you can also now do this to all these keyframes as well. So say I want to have multiple instances of easy ease. I can click and drag over these keyframes. Remember, keyframe management is so important. You have to always be aware of your keyframes, because otherwise you're going to create new ones, or you're going to be over top of something. So keyframe assistant, easy ease, and of course it does have a F9 key if you've got a keyboard that has such a thing. Easy ease. And now it's going to ease both of these keyframes as well. So there and there. So they're all easing into place. So nice and smooth, not robotic. And there you have easy keyframes. And I'll add one more set of keyframes for us in the scale function. So scale here, we've already added the first keyframe, as you can see over here. What we have to do is add another one. So let's just scale this to say, let's go right to the end here. We'll go to the end. You can hit the end key if you want. And then I'm just going to scale this up by clicking and dragging at the 50. I can type in it, and you can see, of course, where it's scaling from, that anchor point. So I want to scale from the middle. I got to change the anchor point, and change that is the anchor point tool is this guy. But for now I'm not going to. It's created a second keyframe for me. I'm going to right click on that keyframe, and I'm going to hit easy ease, and it'll be a smooth transition into the final resting spot. Now say I want it to be still for a second. I can grab that, bring it back to the 4-second mark, and then play it again, and it'll stop there. But it'll smooth itself right into position. And there you go. One more step in keyframes. I tell you, this is so important just to understand the concept of keyframes. And I'll do a quick little video this week as well to show you how you do this in Premiere, Avid, Resolve. They all have keyframes. So now let's move on.